Hello there, guys. We're gonna continue where we left last time. There was an issue with the DaVinci Resolve, so I had to restart the computer. Now it's okay. Right. Okay. So what we have to do now is find where these files are, which are I remember I told you what if you set up the project correctly, it should be in the images when you hit the batch render button. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and find that, and I think it's in here, here. And I have images, and I have the folder for that, and then there you go. You got all these EXR files, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, you can see they'll, if you select individual, you can preview them here, okay? And I think, yeah, they look quite dark, and I'm gonna show you why in a second, because you need to do something in order for you to view it properly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of them and drag them here into the media pool. So I have all those files here available for me to work, okay? Now, I think I told you one of the restrictions of this software being free is that we cannot render things bigger than 1080. Okay, so obviously our original files are 3872 by 2592, which is the setting that we did for the original camera. But don't worry, we can rescale things and that should be fine. Now, by default, if you create your project here, DaVinci Resolve should scale things up automatically based on the project here, 1920 by 1080. And then here on the image scaling, it will be scale the entirety of the image just to fit there. So you will see some bars on the side. But that's fine by me, guys. If you want to keep it like that, that's okay. If you have these bars on the side like this, I'm okay with that, as long as you keep the original file as it is. So you can keep the most of the image. Okay, everything looks dark here, and I'll show you in a minute why. Okay, so I told you about the cat page. We had to ignore that. We have the edit here, which is the one we're going to jump on. As soon as we jump on in there, we know that we have all the files available. Okay. Now, ideally, you could just go and click and drag and then pasting here, and then you can create a whole film how long you want it. But we're going to do something different. We're going to be using DaVinci Resolve only for doing the compositing. So what you have to do is right click here and you create a fusion composition. Okay. And then you give it a duration. I don't know. This is because it's video. You assume that you're going to do a video, so it's 5 seconds. Just leave it like that. It's okay. I remember I told you you're going to have still images, but if you want to produce a second of a video, 5 seconds, just with a still image, that's fine by me. Ideally, I'm going to show you how to export it just as a single image. That's not a problem. So, so keep it like that, and then just if you want, just rename this. I'm going to call it here data compositing comp. And then I'm gonna hit create, and then you can see create something here, which is an extra entry. So I'm gonna just save the project just in case. And then what you have to do is drag and drop this guy here. You see, automatically by doing that, it creates an extra file here called the timeline, and that's the stuff that you're gonna put here with all the projects, you know. So this is obviously 5 seconds in duration. You can see you can just pretty much reuse it here if you want. You can make it 1 second, 4 seconds, or whatever. So again, I don't mind about this, but what we're going to do is, this is going to be blank, okay? There's nothing in there. But by doing this fusion composition, you're going to have the ability to jump into the fusion tab, and then you're going to be able to have access to, you can see there's a media out here. You will have access here by clicking on the media pool. You will have access to every single one of the files that we have available for us to work, okay? So what you have to do in order to bring an image here is we're gonna have a look at let's have a look at the actual file. By clicking the button, you can just get icons, or you can get just the names of the files. So I'm just gonna open this up so we know that. So let's open just the one that I told you at the beginning, which is the beauty, which has everything in it. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. By doing that, you create this media in. Okay. So if you just press here, you press this is the viewers. You press 1 on here, you will view the image right there. Okay. So everything looks dark. Okay. The reason for that is because these are EXR files. These are linear space images. They are not like JPEGs or PNGs. They look nice. We have to make it look nice right at the end when we save everything. Okay. So what you have to do is select this guy. Okay. And then go here into drop down here, and then here you should have something called gamut. You can either use this gamut view LUT. You click here, seems like nothing happens, but then you go here into, I think it's Fusion. You have to switch it on, go into gamut, and then go into edit. Okay, and then here you tell them the output space, okay, is gonna be sRGB, because my monitor is sRGB. So as soon as you do that, you see it brings up the colors and it make it look like the original JPEG that we have. Just ignore the background for now. This checkerboard thing is because there is an alpha there. So you have to do this again. You have to, by doing this, this is pretty much is a LUT, a lookup table. So what it does is say, hey, this image is in linear space. Let's make it look nice for this monitor. You click this button, okay? It might be unchecked like this. I don't know, like for example this. Then you check it, uncheck it. It will make no difference. You go into gamut, okay? They will still be dark. You go into edit and you make sure you put this in output space to sRGB, okay? And that's because the monitor that I have is sRGB. If you have a Rec 709 monitor, then you go and find Rec 709, which is somewhere around here. Yeah, this one. I think it's this one is yeah, Rec 709. Yeah. So these are just standards things that are in the industry. So I'm gonna put this one too. Yeah. Okay. So you can see now that sort of resembles a little bit more of what we did in the original. Okay, so now remember that this is the image with everything. Okay, so you press A, you can see that this is the file. Okay, okay. So another thing actually that I forgot to do was I'm gonna go back to my media pool. Okay, just temporarily. See, nothing of this stuff is lost. I'm gonna go here into my original project, and I remember that I told you we saved that EXR here. So we're going to source images. And we're gonna put the EXR image, that's the one, yeah. The EXR image, you remember, with the background, so we're just gonna drag and drop it here, okay? And that will be this one. You see, it still looks dark because it's EXR. So we're gonna go back to edit, and then, to Fusion. And then here, we have the Rec 709. So again, we do this, okay? And then this is the original image, you can see. Already have the gamut, you see, that's before, because it was darking. Now, because in EXR you see with all the information here, it's a little bit noisy. We can get rid of that noise later on if you want. Okay, but now if you view this, you can see this one here will not allow us to have this because it has the alpha. Okay, the other one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the compositing, the stuff that we did on week 1, which was the actual thing. Is this media out? I'm gonna put, for example, if I put this thing to media out here. Okay, we're gonna do is we're gonna put, I think we need to reformat everything to be 1920 by 1080, but that's something we can do at the end, no problem. So okay, so we have the here number one, this is the original, this is the original background, and this is the original render. Okay, we're not going to be needing this because we're going to reconstruct this image from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this by clicking and dragging. Then you click and drag, you double click, you disconnect the connection. You disconnect that sort of line to the output. This is a media out. This is the one that you're going to come out at the end of render. This is the stuff you're going to bring in, the media in. Every time you drag and drop something here, it will be a media in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start compositing all these images together. Okay, so first thing we need to do is remember that this beauty is with everything together, but we're going to have a little bit of control over the individual aspects. So we need to reconstruct this image by taking all these broken down elements and then put them together. Okay, so let's start with the albedo. I'm just going to drag and drop here the albedo. Okay, just let's view the albedo. So select that, you press 1, and you see this is the albedo. You can see everything looks fine because we have the LUT, otherwise it will be dark. Okay, okay, so we have the albedo. Okay, we can rename this. You press F2 and you call them albedo. Okay, if we can spell properly, albedo. Okay, now I'm gonna add the albedo, and I'm gonna add on top the direct diffuse. Okay, so I'm gonna add the direct diffuse here. Okay, let's view direct diffuse. You see this direct diffuse? This is albedo, direct diffuse. Okay, so I'm gonna rename this. Press F2. I'm gonna call this direct underscore diffuse. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna merge them. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the background. Okay, and then I'm gonna put this in the foreground. Okay, so I'm gonna type. I'm gonna control. I'm gonna press pass. Sorry, one second. I think it's called control space bar. You bring this up, and then you type merge. Then we're gonna be merging this stuff in here. So if you hover over the entries, you know that this is gonna be the background, and this is gonna be the foreground. So we say the background is going to be the albedo, okay, and the foreground, if you want to put it like this, it's going to be the diffuse. So I'm going to do that. Okay, just remember that these ones here, albedo, you press A, they don't have an alpha. Okay, and here, if you press A, they don't have an alpha. So we're just adding these two together. Okay. Okay, so we have this, and then at the moment, it's pretty much the diffuse is pretty much killing what is under there. The reason for that is because it's using the alpha. Okay, and there is the alpha is solid, everything. So if you just want to add two things together here, you just have to go into the merge and then go into alpha gain and then knock it down. You can see if by killing it, you pretty much put in the albedo, and then by adding it, you can just start adding a little bit of the other one here. So you can have it a little bit like probably like this, halfway there, or a little bit there. So you can see there's a little bit of both worlds. This is too dark, maybe something like this. Okay, so you have these two images there. Okay, so now we have the direct diffuse and the albedo. Now I'm gonna add the direct specular. So I'm gonna drag and drop it here. Okay, I'm gonna rename it F2. I'm gonna call this direct specular. Okay, and then just gonna type control spacebar, and then I'm gonna type merge again. The last selection is there already, so I'm gonna press add. Okay, again, hover over the entries. This is the background and this is the foreground. Okay, background is gonna be whatever we have already, and the foreground is whatever we're gonna put on top, which is the specular. So we do this, and you see obviously it replaces everything. Okay, now if you want to add them, you just knock it down. You can see that is added on top. This is replacing. You see it kills everything is under, but by alpha gain you just adding it. Okay, so you can see now that we're sort of getting there with the image that we had before, which is, I believe it's this one. Yeah, getting there. You see this is what we have so far, and this is what we have in the original. You see there's a little bit of a color bouncy, and that's what we want to do next, which is indirect diffuse, indirect specular, and all that. So direct specular, this, knock that down. And the beauty about this is that if you think, well, that stuff is too shiny, we can just go here into the blend and then just kill it. You can make it a little bit less specular like this. Okay, you see only 50% or something, or 0.5, but let's keep it all for now like this. Okay, so you see I'm getting the specular even for this, even though it's not glass. Okay, so what we're gonna do is actually we have a little bit of an issue here because, and I'm gonna tell you why, because this is the specularity from the glass, but we have something that is individually the glass, right? So I'm gonna drag and drop here this. Okay, we're gonna put it in between. So let's have a look. You see this is the glass. So if we put it after, then it's gonna be on top of the reflection, and we don't want that. Okay, so we're gonna put it in the middle. So I'm gonna press F2 and I'm gonna call this glass. Okay, if you have glass dye, this will apply to you. If not, don't worry. But it should be in this sort of sequence. Okay, if you have subsurface, you're probably gonna put it in here, but don't put the specular, the subsurface, the glass after the specular, otherwise it will kill the reflections. Okay, so I'm gonna press Control Spacebar, and I'm gonna type merge. So put it there. You could do it from here as well, guys. I think one of these ones are already the default. You can just, these are like the most used sort of. There you go. You can just drag and drop it from here. You click here, you create another one. You see. That's another one. Just hover over this. You can see that they're sort of like a tool that are mostly used. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take I'm gonna hover here. This is gonna be my background. So I'm gonna connect the background here, and I'm gonna connect this as the foreground. Okay, and then I'm gonna view this by pressing number 1, because this is number 1 and this is number 2 port. So again, it's killing everything because it's replacing it. So we're just gonna go in alpha game and then just kill the alpha. And now you can see that we're just adding it. This is what we had before. View this one, you see, and now we added the glass. Now the output of this will go into here, and then we continue with the rest. You can see, so now when we view this, we will have the glass, look, and now we'll have the reflections on top. So now it's correct. If we'd have done this afterwards, then it will be the refraction of the glass on top of the reflection. It will kill this. So it just pretty much makes sense, I think, just to have things in that order. Okay, so direct specular. So now let's move on to the indirect part, which is the indirect diffuse. Indirect diffuse, remember, is a color bouncing off around the elements. One of the example was the floor. Okay. So again, I'm gonna drag it from here, merge. Okay. And I'm gonna put the indirect diffuse. And I'm gonna drag and drop it here. Okay, I'm gonna save all this stuff just in case it crashes. Save project. Again, press F2, rename, and I'm gonna call that indirect diffuse. Okay, direct diffuse. Okay. Now I'm gonna, again, this is gonna be normally by default. This is the background here. Okay, but I can change because if you move around here, you can see how they are rearranged. So I normally like to hover. See, I think the yellow ones are always background and the green on top. So we put this one on top. And again, when we view this, you can see it kills everything because it's taking over the whole alpha, which is solid. Remember, everything that's white is going to be taking over, whatever is black is not. But we don't want that, we're just adding images. So we're just going to kill the alpha gain. And by doing that, you can see now, let's review this. So you can see probably invisible is here. So this is the indirect diffuse. You can see it's a little bit of color bouncing back from the floor. Remember that color that we selected? And then obviously because it's quite red, it's going to have a lot of color bleeding in between. You know, you might have a little bit here and there. But so this is what it was before, and now this is what it is now. Okay, you can see a little bit of a change there. Give it a little bit more, you see, a little bit of color on the floor as well, the table. Okay, so now the last bit we can do is probably add the indirect specular on top. Okay, so we could add the, I suppose, the indirect diffuse first and then the indirect specular, but I don't think it makes any difference because it's just color. So I'm gonna put a merge here, okay, and I'm gonna drag and drop the indirect reflection, or indirect, not direct specular, but indirect specular. There you go. Again, select that, press F2, rename indirect specular. Okay. Again, hover over this. Yellow ones are the background, so we just put this one into the background, and then we put this one on top. And then by doing this, you see these are the reflections. They are from the environment. So you can see this is a reflection from the floor onto the character, the reflections on the floor here, the reflections in here as well, and the reflections on the floor and the environment on top. So once we put that, okay, we are killing whatever is under, because the alpha of this image is solid. You see this image here? Alpha is solid, so pretty much covering everything, including the black, but we don't want that. We just want to add the images. So we kill the alpha by doing this, okay? And again, this was before, and this is now. You see a little bit of color here and reflection makes a big difference. And now we have pretty much the image right there, what we had before, okay? Now, what we need to do now is to put this, okay, on top of the background, the original background, okay? Because remember, the beauty here has everything, but this, ignore this, because the checkerboard means that it's an alpha. You can see, press A, it's alpha. It renders it because it's there rendered with the original image, but it's not going to be taken into consideration because it is part of the background, so it's not part of the render. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the original here, which is this. Remember the one, the EXR, a little bit noisy. Okay, but we can get rid of that in a minute. So I'm going to take this, okay, and I'm going to call this F2. I'm going to call this original PK background, okay. And again, I'm going to drag and drop one of these one here, just click. Whatever you are selected, it automatically connects it for you, but let's put it like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something here. We're just going to connect this to the background because that's the final background, and this is going to be the new foreground here. Okay, I'll put this right there. Okay, so now when we view that, okay, everything kills it because it's alpha solid, but we just want that, we just have to do the alpha. But this is when the problem starts, because if we kill that, we're killing all the alpha, we're only passing a little bit of the color. Okay, so what we have to do, in a way, is create an alpha from this somehow. Okay, so right now what we have is the original image. We've got original background, original image. Okay, okay, and if we kill, we say alpha gain, and we do that, then obviously we're killing this because now it will be a solid white, which is from the background, but we don't want that. Okay, so we have this image so far. How do we connect this on top? So what we're going to do is we're going to stop this now because I think it's running over 20 something, probably, yeah, nearly 20 minutes. I'm going to stop this now, and then I'm going to come back in the next part when I show you how to fix that issue. Okay, So that's it for it now, guys. I think what we can do is we can start working on the next part. So I'll leave it for this now. Thank you very much, and I'll come back in a minute with the other part. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.